the party line that vaccines have no connection to autism is false. It's a propaganda campaign, and one of the things that supports the propaganda campaign is deliberate fraud in the Centers for Disease Control when they've done studies of the connection between vaccines and autism. And the first part of the mission I had was to try to explain autism, and so Dan and I have been on this multi-year journey of exploring the natural history of autism as a disease and where it came from and when it started. There is an age of autism, that autism had a beginning at a specific point in time. It has had a course. It is at epidemic levels right now, and we hope that through our work in advocacy that we can see an end to the age of autism, because it is an environmentally caused disorder. As we've tried to, and I've tried to explore the history of autism, a different question arises all the time, which is, I'm worried about vaccines. What should I do with my child? Or what should my sister do with her child? Or what should my daughter do with her child about vaccines? And I never really had a good answer to those questions. I would usually say something like this, that, you know, don't trust them. Don't trust the public health authorities, because the information you're receiving is not reliable, in many cases fraudulent. Every vaccine is different, so you should treat every single one of them like a medical procedure to be, an important medical procedure to be performed in your child, and you should investigate it yourself. There are benefits and risks to every single one of these. They're not the same, and you should be educated, and you should be skeptical. Any individual parent is faced with bullying from their pediatrician or pressure from their family, and so the opportunity to stand up and make rational choices or to formulate a rational strategy, when in many cases compliance with the vaccine program is the gate to getting into the public school system. So it's a very challenging issue for any new family that wants to do the right thing and have a healthy child. And so, long story short, Dan and I decided to write this book, Vaccines 2.0, that would provide a guide to parents to make those decisions and give more information, and give the information that they're not receiving in the public media. It doesn't break any new ground, but it does, I think, try to provide a very practical tool for parents and families. This is a very controversial topic. Passions run high. They are running higher now as it's becoming more politically controversial. And there are many people in the establishment who would say vaccines are the most important life-saving invention that has ever come through medicine. We've saved millions and millions of children around the globe by giving vaccines. Trust us, everything we do is right, and you should get every vaccine. And people that argue against vaccination are baby killers. And people say that. And they say that about people like me. And there are also people who are very newly mobilized and motivated around the controversies, who would argue that vaccination is an unnatural practice, that no vaccine at any point in history at any time has ever worked or done any good, that every vaccine is highly, highly dangerous and has no benefits, and no one should ever vaccinate their child. I paint deliberate extremes here to make the point that I am not anti-vaccine, and I know many, and I have many friends actually that are, many of whom I think come to that with a thoughtful and rational position. So I respect the point of view that is anti-vaccine. Personally, I am not. My own personal position, Dan, I think you share this, is that I believe vaccination should be safe when administered, in all cases voluntary, and rare. Because vaccination, if you choose to do it, might have benefits for certain diseases, and I think a rational parent deserves the right to make that choice, and a rational parent might make that choice to protect their infant from some of these childhood diseases. But the program that we have seen, the number of vaccines, the density of the program, the intensity of administration, the degree of intervention in childhood immune development is unprecedented and excessive. And so rare is the word I would use. Antibiotics I think antibiotics more than vaccination, antibiotics were the single greatest invention in the history of medicine, particularly penicillin wiped out many diseases, crippling syphilis went away as a public health threat after the invention of antibiotics. But we've learned now with antibiotics that just because some are good, more is not better. There are unintended consequences to giving antibiotics for every ear infection, and giving antibiotics promiscuously to cattle as a growth vehicle actually has the effect of promoting antibiotic-resistant strains and making the whole world more dangerous against these bacteria. And so, just as in antibiotics, I think the case with vaccines might be if some are good, that doesn't mean more is better. We don't propose a recommended schedule. What we try to do is say, here's why you should care about this problem, because it's serious, and you should not trust what you're hearing. You should actually be concerned, because there are reasons to be concerned. And therefore, if you're going to be concerned, every vaccine is different, and every one has different risks and benefits, and some of them are more useful than others. Some are horrible, and I would never recommend. Some a reasonable parent might consider. And so we lay out the information on our view of the risks and benefits. We don't weight them, because there are some risks that some people might take that others might not, some benefits that some might value, others might not, but we try to lay out that information about what parents should know. But then the most important thing is that it's not sufficient just to have information on individual vaccines. In the modern world, where participation in civic society has a lot to do with whether or not, or to what extent you are in compliance with mandated vaccine. We try to lay out all the different kinds of thinking that, or strategies that a family might have, and then say the choice is yours. We don't make a recommendation. We just try to respect the rights of the family to choose.